Hi, Jesse.
Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I I want to talk to you today about the fact that you are the best person I know at converting people from short-term programs, trial type session programs through to long-term clients. So I'll get to that because I know you are the queen of this and I want to know. I've always wanted to know how you do it and how your conversion rate is so high. But first, congratulations are in order. You are one of three finalists. Your business, Blue Mallet Health, is one of three finalists in the Exercise and Sport Science Australia Practice of the Year.
I know, crazy. I
Amazing.
thank you. Yeah, I'm in shock still. Can't believe it.
Your your business is in its seventh year, is that right?
Yeah, so we opened in 2018, pretty much to this day, actually, next week. So it's grown so much, and I'm yeah really proud of this nomination. It's a nice reflection and acknowledgement of all the hard work I've put in over the years. So yeah, I'm really proud.
Yeah, and you should be. I mean, I've sort of had uh, a backseat of sorts to see how much work you do put in. And what a lot of people won't know is that not only have you been nominated as one of three finalists for this award, but you have a little girl, Harlow, who turned one last month.
Yes.
So you've somehow managed to be one of the leading exercise physiology clinics in the country off the back of that as well. And I do want to unpack that as we go. I do want to unpack that as we go. But first, as I said, I want to talk about how you do such a good job of converting short-term clients to long-term clients. And we'll sort of unpack what that means in a moment.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, tell me a little bit about your business. Tell me about Blue Malad Health.
Sure. So Blue Mallet Health, we're an exercise physiology practice in Myaree. There's four of us. So we've got myself, Will, James, and Sarah. Sarah's on maternity leave, but between the four of us, we manage a caseload of a range of clients of all ages and abilities, primarily chronic health disease management and also disability as well. So, yeah, we have such a really diverse population that we work with every day, and I love it. So, we get, I guess, the bulk of our referrals through Medicare, which we'll talk about, but heaps of word of mouth now, a lot of organic leads. I think just as the business gets older, it just that's sort of where our referrals are coming from, a little bit more natural. So yeah, that's Bloom.
So you mentioned these Medicare referrals being a major source of where clients are coming from. Can you explain to me, like I'm a fifth grader, what is
Yep.
a Medicare team care arrangement? How does this system work?
Sure. So imagine you are an individual, you've been managing a chronic disease. So that's a condition that's lasted longer than 6 months, whether that is type 2 diabetes, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, high cholesterol, that sort of thing. So you go to your doctor and they create what's called a GP management plan. So that, creates this plan of how they're going to help you with this disease. And within that slots a team care arrangement. And it's for those who have a complex chronic disease that needs more than one specialist or allied health providers' input. So it's this multidisciplinary approach. So that's the TCA, the team care arrangement. So the GP will refer you with the disease to ideally more than one or two allied health providers and specialists. So whether that is a podiatrist, a physiotherapist, an exercise physiologist for us, a pharmacist for medication reviews, so yeah, we receive the TCA, and that outlines how many sessions the client can get. So under the Medicare rules, the client can access up to 5 sessions maximum. And so bearing in mind that's for any allied health professional that person needs. So you're going to get a maximum of 5 sessions with that client. So, and that's within a calendar year. So it's not a lot. It's a starting point. But it helps it helps that individual access the healthcare they need to manage their chronic disease. So that
Okay.
is a Medicare plan, basically.
So it's basically the government saying, we will cover the costs for someone
Partially.
with a chronic condition to see an
Mhm.
exercise physiologist in the hope that this will be the impetus they need to then say, great, you're now independent, you can go away and do this exercise on your own. There's a
Mhm.
lifestyle intervention, and hopefully the health system isn't having to pay for this chronic condition further down the line when it becomes a much more costly affair. Is that a fair read?
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
almost like a preventative to avoid hospitalization and further comorbidities from occurring. Um, so some places bulk bill. We've recently switched from entirely bulk billing to there's a fee involved, but we do have our off-peak hours. So the rebate for all allied health providers is $60.35. Yeah, it's not a huge money maker for the practice, but you think about the disease burden in our community, it's huge. So there's so many referrals out there to be had if you are, making those nice connections with the practices and you're showing that you're helping your clients that they're referring to you.
So it strikes me because obviously a lot of the people who will be watching or listening to this chat are, yes, exercise physiologists, potentially gym owners or personal trainers or people who are running exercise classes. This almost feels like how a gym may offer a 21-day free trial, or a personal trainer may offer a complimentary session to try and get someone in. And it's almost, and I think this is why your advice and opinions and strategies on this are going to be so valuable. What you're basically doing, you have found a way to systemize the process of converting people from what is effectively a trial, right? I mean, it's 5 sessions, as you said, in a calendar year. You aren't going to
Mm.
change someone's life in that time, but if you can create an amazing experience for them, that could turn into something more permanent, which is what we want to talk about today. So I think these ideas that I'd like to talk to you about are going to be of benefit, not just to exercise physiologists who are involved in these team care arrangements,
Mm.
but anyone who is trying to give people a taste of what they do and then converting them to a longer term paying client to be financially beneficial for the business and obviously to be beneficial towards that person's health.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
time. It's
Okay.
it's a it's a foot in the door. You're sort of giving your client a glimpse of what they could experience if they chose to, become long-term clients, basically.
Okay. So let's look at some of your numbers then, because I know you're very numbers and data driven and you do a great job of tracking KPIs. So, can you tell me what percentage of people are you converting from this effectively trial
Mm.
through to long-term private paying clients? What's your conversion rate in percentages?
So we sort of say anything above 30% is a win for us, realistically speaking. And we typically do sit anywhere between 30 to
Wow.
50% of clients who will transfer across to being privately paying clients. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's probably what we aim for, but it's always a moving target because it is every calendar year the referrals refresh. So say, for example, we had a big influx in Jan and Feb of Medicare clients because all their rebates are resetting. But then by December, we're not going to get too many because their clients have probably used those 5 sessions in a calendar year. So um, it ebbs and flows throughout the year.
Yeah. So I
So
think it's important to make mention of here. Some people may be listening to this and think, oh, so you're only converting 30 to 50% of the people who are coming in for what's effectively a trial into
Mm.
long-term paying clients. Now, if you're a personal trainer and you're only converting 30 to 50% of people who are coming in for a free PT session, or if you're running exercise classes and you're only converting 30 to 50% of people into long-term members, that doesn't sound very good. But you have to remember here that these people who are being referred, when they are referred to you, they have no plan to continue long term. As far as they're concerned, they've just been referred for 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions with you, and then that's it. So you're actually not only converting people into long term paying clients, but in the process of that, you are convincing them there's a change in a change in opinion that you're creating in them. You're convincing them that this needs to be a long term approach. So I actually had a chat in prep for this talk, Jesse, with a couple of other exercise physiologists that I work with. Most of them are happy if they convert more than 10 to 15%.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it seems to me like that's probably industry average. I spoke with about half a dozen people, and
Mm.
if they hit 15%, they're pretty happy with that. So the fact that you're going 30 to 50% in my mind is huge. Um, I know a couple of years ago you started making a real concerted effort to converting more of these people. Do you have data to to tell me what your conversions looked like before you really put some time and effort into this?
I don't have data before because I never tracked it. It wasn't something I focused on, but I've been tracking since July 22. It's been pretty consistent, that sort of 30-ish, 30 to 50 on a good month.
Mm.
Um, I guess also to add, like, 30% doesn't seem like a lot, but something you and I worked on heaps was like you're getting many referrals from many different places. So Medicare is just one small piece of the pie. So if we're collecting 50% of referrals from all of our networks, it adds up big
Yeah.
time. But yeah, before I started implementing these strategies and making it a real priority, I would say, yeah, 10, 15%. I guess I just didn't put much emphasis on how important those referrals are because I sort of thought, well, I'm only going to see them for 5 sessions, so what's the point?
Mm.
Now my mindset and our strategies have totally flipped on that, and it's the complete opposite of how we approach things.
Okay. So let's say that you were converting 15%, you're now converting 30. You've effectively doubled the conversions to new clients. So
Mm.
again, even if this is someone not necessarily in a clinical space who's listening to this, with these strategies, it wouldn't be unrealistic to expect that they could double how many people they're converting to long term. And that's whether you're an exercise physiologist who has a GP referral through Medicare
Mhm.
or a PT, a gym owner, as I said, anyone in this sort of health or fitness field. All
Totally.
right, let's get practical. I would love for people to be able to walk away with a bit of a checklist of I need to do A, B, C, D, E, and that's going to help me to achieve this doubling in my conversion rate. How are you doing it, Jesse? Talk me through your strategy.
Okay, so I guess I've got three top tips. And the first one is from the very first interaction with that referring client, I make it really clear that the number of sessions they've been referred for is the starting point. So my language is really geared towards looking further past just the 3 sessions they've been referred for. So not keeping them on the phone, but really getting curious about why they've been referred and how we can help them, and getting to know them, and then just having that nice, authentic conversation around these 3 sessions is going to be really a nice start. In those 3 sessions, we're going to really understand who you are, where your baseline levels sit, and then we're going to start creating this really nice program that's going to suit you and your lifestyle really well. So, realistically, what are we going to do in 3 sessions? Like, the best trainer in the world couldn't create any change in 3 sessions. That's just not how our body works. So, yeah, the language that from the moment they book in for an initial assessment or they inquire, so that very, very first touch point, we've planted the seed that those referral sessions are just the start. They're an introduction, they're a stepping stone, however you want to sort of describe it. That's probably the biggest thing that we make sure we do, is just the language is really geared towards long-term investment.
Yeah, I
Because
think
chronic disease comes from years and years of sedentary behavior, or, so many things. So it's not going to be fixed in these 3 sessions. Even if we were to get 5 sessions, that still is touching the surface. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I think that's really smart because the expectation potentially that a GP would have set up with a client or a patient would be, I'm referring you to the Bloom Allied Health team for 3 sessions. So
Mm,
you, as quickly as possible, need to change that perception and switch that thinking. And I love what you said about using language and using that sort of future focused language. And it sets that expectation early. I think the mistake a lot of people make is they would do 3 sessions or 5 sessions or a free trial or whatever that sort of intro offer may be.
Mm.
then they get to the end of that and then they think, right, now I need to enter the sales phase of
Yeah.
this. It sounds to me like you're starting that on the ground floor.
Yeah, there's no second thought about moving from a Medicare appointment to a private appointment because they know that before they've even walked in the door. It's not a shock or a surprise to them that the fifth or the sixth session they'll start paying, or they bring their private health card just with automatically. So yeah, just we're setting them on that path before we, have that awkward like, oh, this is our last fifth Medicare session. Like, what would you like to do now? And then usually that's when they'll say, oh, I'm happy with my home program. I'll see you in a year's time because that they haven't had a chance to think about what they want to do next.
Tell me your second tip, Jesse.
Second tip would be, so we've gotten them through the door, and now we're in our initial assessment, and we are trying to shift the motivation for attending from your doctor's referred you. I have no idea why I'm here. My doctor just told me I have to come and it's free, so I might as well. To, okay, well, why do you actually want to attend? So how can we actually help you? So we all know that that internal motivation is going to be, intrinsically far more, um, long term than just someone telling you what to do. So maybe the client's been referred for low muscle mass. The client doesn't even know what sarcopenia is, but then we get to talk to our client and they want to pick up their grandkids, go down to the park. All those two things are exactly the same. The programming is identical, but it's in a language in a way that's motivating for them. So shifting the goals to client centered versus just whatever the GP's written on their referral that's what they don't really quite get. So I think that's also a big thing is, yeah, why do they want to be here? Because they probably didn't make the decision to come here. So of course you're not going to stick around because you didn't choose to be here. You're just sort of pleasing your doctor. So if we can dig a little bit deeper and find out why it might be nice for them to continue, then you're always going to see longer results because they're there for them, not for their doctor.
Yeah, that's great. Have you got an example of someone recently that you went through this process with? Obviously, feel free to change names and things, but can you tell me the story of someone who came in and they came in because they'd been told to by their GP? And can you tell me how you were able to switch that through to they were there for them, not for someone else?
Yeah, gosh, I guess it's pretty much every Medicare session, to be honest. Like all clients are referred because of their doctor. It's usually not them putting their hand up being like, gosh, I'd love to go see an exercise physiologist. Can
Hmm.
you refer me? Gosh,
I
what
guess
would
it's
be
not just GP referrals either, is it? Because you could have a husband coming in because his wife has said, "Hey, honey, you're struggling to get up off the couch."
exactly?
It's exactly the same thing. So it's not just people who've been referred by a GP or a medical professional. It's anyone who has been told by someone else to go and exercise and it's not their idea. And I guess if it is their idea,
Mm.
then they're going to stick with that.
Yeah, exactly. I had
Yeah.
one client who has started seeing us, and yeah, we sort of got to the bottom of things, and it's because yeah, she's also postpartum and she's been breastfeeding for over a year now, and she just feels like, pretty crappy and wanting to get her body back, wanting to feel really strong. Her baby's getting heavier and bigger, so keeping up with the demands of her little bub.
Mm.
So yeah, having that drive and that motivation to attend because you need to care for someone you love is always huge. So I guess that's an example. But most of the time, the motivation starts external and we have to move it internally.
Yeah. And there's a lot of psychology involved in that.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
don't always get it perfect, but we try.
Yeah. Okay. So your first tip was to make everything future focused from the outset. The
Mm.
second was to shift their locus of control internally. So it's
Mhm.
something that they need and they want rather than them just being referred and told to do something. What's your third tip to improve these conversions?
Third tip is something we've done a little more recently, and it is offering a financially viable alternative to just private one-on-one sessions
Mm,
because we do offer a premium service. It's not cheap. And once someone goes from a Medicare session that's bulk billed and it's free, that jump to a $90 session is huge. So we have an intermediate option where clients can come in and they do open gym. They've got an online platform for other little services to add value. So nutrition questionnaires, home exercise programs, unlimited open gym access. And we've just made that $25 a week on a direct debit. So really affordable. But it means that the client's going to continue just to keep coming into the gym. They become part of the community. They get to know other people, which is hard when you're in a one-on-one environment. We don't have that big community like group fitness classes do. But if there's lots of people doing their own thing, it does create that little community. So yeah, we found that adding Open Gym and this Bloom online service, both really affordable, that has allowed clients to just have that second option if one-on-one sessions aren't doable, which of course it's so not doable for everyone. So yeah, we've found that that option really helps people stick around if finances are the main barrier.
It sounds like it's a really good gateway drug as well. It sort of gets people into that ecosystem. I mean, it makes me think probably, I don't know, 2006, I bought an iPod and that was my first Apple product. And now I've
Yeah,
had three
you are.
MacBook Pros and multiple iPhones. And as soon as you're in that ecosystem,
Exactly.
then in this case, that company can solve my pain points.
Mm.
In the case of you, you are really well positioned there that if they did want to step up, they can. And also, it's not cannibalizing your core business. It's not cannibalizing that premium one-on-one service because those people wouldn't be using that one-on-one service anyway because it's unviable financially for them.
Mm. And from a business perspective, it's quite passive income because the open gym programs, yeah, we program for them and we do these really broad weekly questionnaires, but we market it as being, quite broad. They're not thinking they're going to get anything super individualized. So yeah, it meets in the middle of what they need and what we can offer for that price point. And yeah, it just people are in the gym and we do have a condition where they have to come see an exercise physiologist every 6 to 8 weeks just to make sure their programming is appropriate. And then that also helps with goal setting and forward thinking and yeah, it just keeps that flow.
Yeah, great. Okay, so your three tips: make it future focused, always get them thinking further beyond this sort of trial period. Second, shift that focus to why they need this, not why
Mm-hmm.
someone else is telling them to do it. And finally, make sure you're giving them plenty of options for how they can become part of your business. Options that will maybe be for people who financially are not able to take on a premium service, geographically are not able to take on a premium service, but have options where people can become part of your ecosystem without having to make a huge long-term commitment.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're my three top tips.
Excellent. I wanted to ask you as well. Off the top, I mentioned that you were one of three finalists for the ESSA Practice of the Year. You've got a 13-month-old baby. How on earth, and I know you've got an amazing staff team, how on earth have you managed to build one of the absolute leading exercise physiology clinics in the country with a 13-month-old baby? I've got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. And doing that while running a business, I know is tough. How have you done it?
Yeah, it has been a huge year. But I really definitely put this nomination down to the 7 other years of running the business. So honestly, working with you, setting up those processes, so many things were automated. My list of jobs when I was in the depths of newborn was so minimal, and the business just kept ticking over. I
It's
delegated
incredible.
to the team, and they're awesome. And the nomination is also a reflection of my team, big time. But there were just so many things that I didn't have to think about because they were just ticking along in the background already. Bloom's quite mature, so I didn't have to, there was a period I didn't go into the gym for like 6 to 8 weeks. I didn't even honestly think about it very much either. I just had real trust in the team. The processes were there. The work phone, like, sure, maybe it didn't get checked every couple of days, but that's okay as well because I wasn't going into last year to grow the business. Honestly, my mentality was to keep the business ticking. And I just think, yeah, the processes and the team made it really doable, but it's definitely a juggle, like very, very much a juggle. So just sneaking in even 10 minutes where I could, recycling old content, delegating, awesome support network at home. But yeah, it was definitely a few more grey hairs, that's for sure.
I think my favorite part of what you just said was the fact that the reason you have managed to be such a success in this last year is not because of what you've done in this last year. It's because of what
No.
you did in the 6 years before that. And something that I've always really admired and respected about you as a very smart business person is your ability to build a business that will suit your future, that will solve the problems of the future, as opposed to a business that just solves the problems that you have today or
Mm.
now. And I think it's a mistake a lot of people make. And the reason that a lot of the industries surrounding our industry have such high turnover is because people build a business that solves the problems they have today,
Mm.
right? If they're a new grad, they build a business that allows them to pay for their drinks on Friday and Saturday night and a couple of large pizzas and not much else because they're still living at home and they don't have mortgages. They definitely don't have kids. And they build a business that perfectly suits solving the problems of today. You have
Mm.
done such an amazing job of thinking forward and thinking, okay, what sort of mum do I want to be? And by all accounts, you are an amazing, present, active, involved mum. You've obviously gone out intentionally to become that and built a business that supports it. So, yeah, I mean, tip of the hat to you because not a lot of people think that far ahead, and I'm sure that's it's part of the reason for all the successes that you have had and will continue to have.
Thank you. Well, big part of it's your help as well, because I've been working with you for so long. So I really appreciate that as well.
And nice of you to say, but yeah, I think the credit is yours. You're doing good things, and I know you'll only continue doing those. I also wanted to ask you, Jesse, because I know this isn't the only work you do.
Oh, no.
So you're also a lecturer in this space. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because again, this is part of the juggle. You're a successful lecturer, a successful business owner, a successful mum. Tell me a little bit about the lecturing part of that triad.
Yeah, so I work at the University of Notre Dame in the health sciences team, and I lecture into the exercise and sports science courses. So I usually lecture into exercise physiology for special populations, which is my jam. I really love that. Big part of why I love it is it brings research to practice and vice versa. So I really love to bring just the real world context to the literature. It's not always perfect, but yeah, bridging that gap, I really, really love that. I am nutrition and I'm helping to build the new course for the exercise physiology postgraduate that's coming in as well. And I'm also doing a research degree as well, looking at neurodevelopmental populations in children. So that as well, bridging research to practice, yeah, it's what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
it's busy, but I really do love how the two, being in a clinic and in research and in academia, they all link together really nicely, and you've got the different nuances of each situation.
It sounds like they are close enough that they can benefit from each other, but also far enough away from each other that it still gives you some novelty and it still gives you some interest in what you're doing and you're not going to get bored or stale with it. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I love juggling both jobs and particularly pre-baby, start in the morning in the clinic and then go to university in the afternoon. And that's what I love. I thrive off being busy and being in different environments. Now that I have the team at Bloom, I'm on the clinic less, but I still have one morning a week, which is enough for me, particularly now that the team is growing as well. But they definitely benefit each other. And I think also from my professional perspective, I'm trying to grow as a professional and expert in the industry, however you want to describe it. I think being able to be in not every spot, but having a different context in each area helps grow my awareness and, yeah, positions me nicely as an exercise physiologist in the industry.
I think you are definitely, if not already, becoming a strong thought leader in this space, and not just in the exercise physiology industry, but also as a leading business person. the fact that you can do that while being a great mum, while being involved in research as well, and not letting any of these balls or plates fall to the ground and smash, I think is admirable. And and I think you have such a good perspective on this as well. As you were going through that sort of newborn phase, you mentioned that you weren't trying to build a business at that point that would take over the world. And it sounds like for you, it's not necessarily about balance, which is a bit of a misnomer because I don't think there's such thing as balance because you're never going to be perfectly balanced between mum, researcher, lecturer, wife, friend, etc. You have to bias towards certain areas at one time. If you have a newborn, your focus is 99% mum. If
Yeah.
if you have a different sort of baby, which is your business, as it was 7 years ago, a lot more of your focus is on that. So I think you've done a great job of building that portfolio career of different things that are going to keep you stimulated, keep you engaged. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot from how you've approached that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just priorities. They shift daily, monthly. I was able to be at home for, gosh, nearly 9 months with Harlow, which I'm so lucky and thankful for. Not many people can do that. And then I was able to slowly transition back to work, but still be at home a fair bit. So yeah, it's all worked out.
Thank you very much for joining us, Jesse. I love the chat.
Thanks, Dan.